how did you go from coaching, and what brought the real estate bug to you? What made you jump into the property game?
So it was, so it was 5 years I did the coaching and consulting. I didn't make much money the entire time. And there's so many lessons in that. I could take up all of our time. So we'll save that for next time. But so I was failing, and I began to consider going back and getting a job. I mean, I was making nearly six figures. I was making like $96,000 a year, and I was only 27 years old. That's really good money. I knew I can go back and just work there or at another station or in some communications job. But I knew that I'm basically unemployable at this point. I have entrepreneurial blood all throughout my system. I really shouldn't be working for anyone, and I knew that. And honestly, I was afraid of losing my freedom. That was the thing I was most afraid of, because what actually made me say I'm leaving right now was I had just gotten back from vacation, and my manager called me into the office, and I had been forewarned by some coworkers, hey, schedules are changing, like be prepared. And I went in, and they basically asked me to begin working the overnight shift and the weekend shift. So they wanted me to work Wednesday through Sunday, 10 p.m. to like 8 a.m. And I was a newlywed at that time. I'm living in Philly. All my family's in DC. I had just lost my dad. I value family time so much. I was like, that's it. Like, what's the point in making a lot of money and I can't do the things that I love with the people that I love? Like, man, forget the money. Forget it.
That's a bar right there. Like, what's the point if you can't eat? And that's crazy, right? Because, again, lifestyle design. You had to figure out what works for you. And a lot of times it's not even about the money, because being in real estate so long, you meet people from all walks of life. And the one thing I could tell you that is money doesn't bring happiness. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I know some wealthy people who are miserable. So you had to figure out what works for you because you value that family time.
Yes, very much so.
What was your next step when they tried to bring you in and, or make you work that shift?
So I sat in the meeting. It was like 6 managers in there. For little old me, like, y'all doing way too much, first of all. But so I didn't give them a reaction in the meeting. I just said, okay. They said, you have questions? No. Okay. And that was it. I walked out, grabbed my cell phone, went to the car, called my husband, and I was upset. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And he was just like, baby, leave. I was like, what do you mean just leave? He's like, leave. I got you. Just leave.
That's dope.
And so yeah.
Having a spouse, a supportive spouse on both sides.
There's literally nothing like having a supportive spouse who believes in you, who supports you, who has your back. And he knows me. I met my husband when I was 18 years old. He knows me. He knows what I'm made of. And I think he knew that I was built for entrepreneurship and I would do just fine out on my own. And he does pretty good himself. So we just lost my income and figured it out on the backside.
You know what? I want you to speak to that a little bit, because like you're maybe the 5th or 6th guest in a row that has brought up the importance of having a supportive spouse when you want to run a business. So from your perspective, what does that do for your business, and how does it help you to have someone who is supportive of you as your spouse?
Look at her face. She's like, yes.
We're going to make sure we send him this clip too. So say some good things about it.
Having a supportive spouse is everything as an entrepreneur. One, we're not getting a steady paycheck all the time. So it's nice to have something nice and steady and stable. And what that does for you mentally and emotionally, and how that impacts your ability to be successful, you can have a better appetite for risk, one. Because sometimes in entrepreneurship, you have to take some risks. And those of us who take those risks and win, we win big. Typically, and that's certainly relevant in real estate. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Mm-hmm. And then it frees you up not to be desperate. When you're a business owner and you're desperate, you're taking clients that you shouldn't take, you're spending time doing things you shouldn't do. You're not focused on revenue, the big revenue generating opportunities, because you're moving afraid every day. So having that steady support at home, knowing that you're going to be okay regardless, knowing that the lights are going to be on regardless. You might have to switch from steaks to hot dogs, but still you're going to eat, knowing that you you have that support is everything. So marriage is not necessary for everybody, but if you are going to be married, I hear this all the time from my students who come into my class. Some folks are like, my spouse doesn't believe in me. They don't want me to do this. So if you're not married and you're thinking about getting married, make sure you marry somebody you can grow with. And they don't necessarily have to want to do what you do, because my husband, he has his own thing, and he's like, baby, I can never take the risk that you do. He doesn't have the appetite, but he's cool with me doing me and, you know, being the best version of myself. It really makes a big difference having that support.